Hey guys, welcome to Dave's Nano Tanks. For those of you who've been following my channel, you'll know that I built this new 100-gallon tank. And what I'm going to do is move everything that's in the 55-gallon tank into the 100-gallon tank. And I've been doing a few things the last week or so to cheat the cycle in the tank, and I wanted to go over that with you. This isn't anything I've researched. It's just kind of common knowledge to me after dealing with fish tanks for so many years. Things I've done that I don't know that anybody else does, so we'll go over it and hang in there. It should be a good one. So the first thing you'll notice is I've had two sumps on the 55. I had the 20 high, which is on the left, and I have the 20 long, which is on the right. So the first thing that I did was take the 20 high offline and move everything that I had in that 20 high into the new sump. Alright. So here's the new sump I built. I had about 3 or 4 large pieces of live rock, so I moved those over here, including all the sand and any macroalgae that I had in there. And I kind of moved it around into the sump, and I never hooked the sump up to the main system at this point. I used a small, I think it's a lifeguard pump. It's about 300, 400 gallons an hour maybe. And I just used that to run the water through the sump from the return chamber over to where it overflows into the sump. So I got the sump to work at a slower rate than it normally works, and let all that sand settle out in there. As you can see, you may or may not see, there's a couple mollies swimming around in there. They're doing their thing. And the section where the skimmer is eventually going to go is, I threw the Chato in there for now. Now up top in the main display tank, I put in about a 20-pound bag of Carib Sea Agra Alive, or one of their live sands, which I don't know how necessary it is, but I was at a pet store that was closing out, so I got a good deal on a bag of sand. So I threw 1 bag of live sand in, and I also threw a couple of scoops of aragonite, Carib Sea's dry aragonite. And anybody who's ever put the sand in, you know it clouds the tank up for a couple of days. So that's why I did not hook it up to the sump. I also did not rinse the dry sand, or obviously the live sand, because I feel those small little particles may be able to be taken up by coral at one point, or they don't do any bad to the system, because it's really not dirt, it's just pulverized coral or aragonite, which really has everything in it that your coral skeletons are going to want anyway. So I give it a little while to settle out, and I feel that once the dust particles get waterlogged and a little bacteria sticks to them, they fall right out of the water column anyway. So far you may say, well, you know, that's all kind of normal stuff, and maybe it's all nothing special. But if you take a good look in the 55, you'll notice I've also been moving sand. As you see in this area here, you can even see the glass. Now this tank always had at least a good 2 inches of sand in it. So every, say, I wouldn't do it more than 24 hours in between each time that I do it. But what I do is I take a 5-gallon bucket, and I'll kind of show you what I mean. I siphon out 5 gallons of water, but it's not water. I'm more concentrating on the hose in the sand. So it's kind of like vacuuming the sand, but I am getting the sand to go up the hose and into the bucket. So I'm not getting a full 5-gallon bucket of sand, probably only about a gallon's worth with each 5 gallons I pull out. But then what I do is I top off the tank with water from the new build to replace the water I've sucked out. And I do that before I pour that bucket into the new build. the bucket of sand, and because it's kind of cloudy, as you can imagine. The reason why I don't do it all at once, there's a few reasons to that. When I'm siphoning it out, all of that water and sand are going right into the bucket. And as you get down into the lower levels of your sand, you're getting into areas that may be anaerobic, with a depleted oxygen, and you're getting into things that may be toxic to your tank. And you definitely really don't want that water in around your corals. Your fish can probably handle a lot of it, but you don't want to do too much too fast. Also, your sand in your main display is holding a lot of your biological filtration, and what it's using a lot of is that top layer, and that's what I'm removing. So I'm not going across the whole tank and taking it out. Like I did this corner of the tank, then a day or two later I did the other corner of the tank, and I probably won't get all of that sand out of there, but when I pour the sand into the new system, it clouds up pretty bad. So I always make sure I top this tank off before I get the other tank cloudy. So if that makes sense. And I'll probably drop a small video in it. But yeah, I vacuumed some right here. And over there you can see, where you can see the frame of the tank, you could never see. The sand was always up above the frame in this tank. There's a few little places. I even went, back into there a little bit. But I didn't realize how much sand I have. So as you can see, I put a bucket on top of another bucket just to get the height up. And basically because the hose is a short length, so it doesn't reach. If the bucket was all the way on the floor, I'd have that mishap where it could spill out. And you guys have seen me start a siphon before. I just basically put the hose against the power head, and that starts the siphon. You get your finger on it right away, so you can go down into the bucket, into the sand bed, and vacuum up the sand. And as you can see, that's pretty cloudy water, and that's from all the vacuuming I just did. Stirring up the sand. System is kind of low, and the tank's a little cloudy, but I think the corals are enjoying it. So what I'm going to do is turn on this sump, and the sump will try to run out of water, but I'm going to have this hose coming from the 100-gallon topping it off. Sometimes it can't keep up with the pump, sometimes it can, so we'll see how it goes today. So, get this in position. I have my pump switch right there. So let's get that going. And if you watch the level there, seems to be keeping up with it pretty good. And I don't mind stirring up this tank at all. So you can see I only got about a half a gallon of sand that trip. And that's what happens when it gets stuck a lot. Now this will cloud this up, but it'll actually be clear in about an hour or two. And the bacteria will have to find its own place. You know, what was anaerobic bacteria will probably die off. And vice versa. You know, if aerobic bacteria ends up in the wrong spot, then it'll have to die off as well. I don't even care how much of the garbage I get in there. Because my methods seem to be pretty efficient for filtration. So that's basically what I do. The plan is this weekend I plan on moving into the tank possibly. So at that point I'll be taking any corals that can come off. I will take off and put on a frag rack so I can move the live rock in and do the aquascaping. Now, I don't know if this is showing up or not, but I am bubble scrubbing heavily while this is all going on. Because any loose particles, you want to pick them up and get them in the overflow and process them. So, that's the way I've been doing it. Thanks for watching. And crossed fingers on the new move. Thanks, guys. Bye.